Thank you. Here we go.
Morning. My name's Rob Hart. I'm the Executive Director of the Bonner Community Housing Agency. And that's a mouthful, so I just call it the agency. The agency was formed in 2011 to provide affordable housing solutions for residents of North Idaho. We're a 501c3 nonprofit corporation and an IHFA certified community housing development organization, chartered in Bonner and Boundary counties, and we are funded by IHFA grants, development fees, and donations. For over a decade, the agency has worked with IHFA's home program to provide low-income housing, and with the Finally Home program to provide first-time homebuyer education. Every day, those with housing needs stop by our office at the southwest corner of 2nd Avenue and Pine Street in downtown Sandpoint to seek assistance in finding affordable housing. Agency employee Denise Marley helps our walk-ins and manages publicly funded programs that we offer. She also manages our homeless transition program and emergency women's housing at our facilities at Trestle Creek, which is near Hope, Idaho. With the addition of myself and Crystal Horvath, the agency now has branched out to create a series of privately funded programs. The local housing program helps landowners develop affordable housing at a profit. This program reserves homes for local employees, seniors, and the disabled who meet income restrictions and agree to occupy the homes as their principal residence. The goal of the program is to eliminate speculators and investors from a specific project so that it is available for locals that are in need of housing. Home prices in the local housing program are set by a formula based on local income. The formula is designed so that buyers only spend 30% of their income on housing. For all projects that contain some element of our local housing program, Crystal and I offer creative land planning, master planning, project management, and home sales on a nonprofit basis. Several local landowners are now in contact with the agency to provide these services. Our master planning projects range from Athol to Priest River to Bonner's Ferry. One of our current projects, Culver's Crossing, has received an overwhelming positive response from the community, and I'll be speaking more about that in just a moment. We also offer an employer-directed workforce housing program that allows employers to build housing for their employees at no net cost. If you know any employers who might be interested, please have them contact me. And finally, we have an investor-based housing program where community-spirited folks can gather financial resources and make a profit by developing affordable housing under our guidance. In addition to our publicly funded and privately funded programs, we also offer general assistance for those who are working to improve the housing situation. As an example, we are the project managers for the Good Samaritan Inn that you'll hear about in a few minutes, which is a 48-unit homeless transition facility being developed in Ponderay. We have also provided free assistance to the Foundation of Adults with Autism, local landowners, and local employers. Looking to the future, the agency hopes to find more landowners who want to make money developing affordable housing. And we hope to become an affordable housing developer ourselves. The agency is asking the local community for their help in making that possible by sourcing leads, donations, and volunteers for our program. And now for more about Culver's Crossing. Culver's Crossing is the first of its kind housing project in North Idaho where a portion of the homes will be made available exclusively to local employees, seniors, and the disabled. As far as I know, this is the first privately funded affordable housing project in North Idaho. The project is a collaboration of second-generation Sandpoint native Nancy Hadley and the Bonner Community Housing Agency. The project has received overwhelming response from the community. Hundreds of families have contacted us to get on the reservation list. Some of these homes will be covered by the agency's local housing program that I described earlier. This project allows the agency to showcase its approach to new housing developments. We will go over how we consider the setting. We start with a financial model. We offer creative planning and custom design, and finally, effective project management. First, we consider the setting. For affordable housing, we prefer urban locations close to schools, transportation, and services. Next, we prepare a detailed financial of the project before it's designed. We do a complete development cost analysis. We look at the source of funds. We evaluate options to rent or sell. We create a buyer income profile to make sure that we're following the local income program, coming up with a 30% ratio. And then we reverse engineer our home prices based on buyer income and bring that together with competitive construction costs. Next, then we use creative, I'm missing a slide here. Okay. Then we use creative land planning to add value and fit the, excuse me, I'm missing the slide. Oh, I guess I'm missing a slide. We use creative land planning to fit the project into the community. Culver's Crossing is one of the few planned unit developments, or PUDs, in North Idaho. This planning tool provides benefits to both the landowner and the community. The PUD format allows the landowner to cluster density and build a variety of home types to serve those who have been shut out of the housing market. Culver's Crossing has a variety of housing types that include single-family homes, twin homes, townhomes, totaling 49 units on 6 acres. Instead of clear-cutting the site, we had a forester perform a tree survey to inventory all the trees on the property. I apologize, there is a slide missing that shows you the site plan and everything, but I'm just gonna keep going due to the time constraints. A tree preservation plan was prepared to save as many trees as possible, with the result that there will be mature hazelnut and apple trees alongside 100-foot tall Engelmann spruce on move-in day. Culver's Crossing provides a new non-linear through street to aid in traffic flow, and the street's curves help slow traffic down to make a safer neighborhood for families. But perhaps best of all is that the PUD format allows the project to include a large community park and an open space greenbelt along North Boyer that will provide community recreation and preserve the existing views as you drive by the site. Each home has attractive architecture with dormers, trellises, corbels, and other architectural features on all 4 sides of every home. There are different unit types that we put together in a variety of configurations, and all units have enclosed attached garages. And all of this has been done while still maintaining the underlying density allowed under single-family zoning. From start to finish, the agency can manage an entire development process in a nonprofit manner. We follow the critical path method to make sure projects stay on course. We put together a development team of experienced people, experienced professionals to help landowners develop affordable housing. We provide oversight, cost control, and quality assurance throughout the entire project. Culver's Crossing is currently going through the Sandpoint approval process. At our first Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, we received unanimous approval. We have one more Planning and Zoning hearing and then City Council before we begin construction. We hope that that will occur later this summer. If you are interested, I invite you to contact the agency to learn more about Culver's Crossing. Thank you.
That was my bad. I missed that slide. Okay, so our next speaker is Joann Barlow. Okay. Oh no, you'll be fine.
I know, see over me. Good morning. I don't have a lot of solutions like our last speaker had, but I'm Joann Barlow, Program Manager for the Bonner Homeless Transitions Program here in Sandpoint. And we've been in existence since '91. We serve homeless women and men and women with children. So our main concern and my main concern as far as what's going on with the homeless situation here is we've always prided ourselves with moving people on. Our program, that's what our mission is. It's a 2-year program, but hopefully after 6 months or 8 months or whatever, we could move our clients on. We're finding that very, very difficult now. And reasons being, number one is our single women are making too much to qualify for low-income housing. So, and they're making not quite enough to afford a normal $2,000 or $1,500 or $1,800 rental. So there's really a catch-22. And I have to admit that we do have a couple people that are staying longer than the 24 months, which is not good because they get real settled staying with us. They need to move on. And the only one solution that I thought that we could do as a group is contact Boise and somehow get the limits raised on income for subsidized housing. Because there is no way, unless somebody's making 8 or 9 an hour, that you're going to qualify. And no one's making 8 or 9 an hour anymore, even if they're working at Taco Bell or any of the other fast food outfits in town. So we need to somehow get them to raise the limits so that they can qualify for low-income housing. And I know that there's availability. I just talked to 3 different agencies yesterday. Like Noriega had a 3-bedroom, 2 2-bedrooms. 1-bedrooms are kind of hard to come by, but they have the availability. But none of our clients who are at the homeless, I don't want to call us a shelter because we're not a shelter, but none of our clients qualify because they're making too much money. So we don't want them quitting their jobs to be able to have a roof over their head. And when you're making that money, it's just become really sad. I don't know what the solutions are. I don't know if I keep thinking, well, interest rates are going to go up and up and up. So maybe prices will come down, but I don't think they're going to come down enough or for them to ever be able to afford to get into something. So we think outside the box and we've had to. I just had one client that actually found a motor home that she's buying on payments and moved it to a space out in Athol. And so that was very exciting. So it's something she's buying. It's a lease to own type of thing. But the way she found out about it was she worked for the owner. So it wasn't just listed somewhere. So it's word of mouth and somebody having this or that and trailers and things, that the space rent plus trying to buy something, but she could afford it. They can afford that. They can afford to pay $700 or $800 a month, not $1,800. So we just don't have any solutions. I know that right now, I don't have anybody except the one that just moved that is in line to move somewhere because there is no housing. And I don't have anybody with me right now that would qualify for subsidized housing. And that's really sad because where do they go? They don't. So it kind of squelches our whole mission for being, because our mission is to transition people on. So I just hope that through groups like this and other groups that we can find some answers to the housing situation. And I don't know if it means building more low-income housing, which our people don't qualify for anymore. So I think we first have to start with Boise and get those incomes lifted. I mean, a single person I think the income limit is 13,800 or something like that. Don't quote me, but it's close to that. Well, when you're making 15 or 16 or 17 an hour, you're going to go above that 13,000. And so, but you can't afford to rent for 1,800 a month either. So it's, that's our big dilemma right now, is the housing situation. And we're always looking for investors that maybe want to start like a tiny house area or that type of thing. We are looking at that too. And we just met with UGM as far as different options up here. So we're going to different meetings. My partner in crime is going to a meeting next week, I think, with UGM in Spokane, talking about the housing issues and what we can do. And I guess they have a list of investors that are looking at Sandpoint. So I don't know, we'll see. But if they could build tiny houses or even apartments that were, you know, subsidized, that as far as, or low income, that type of thing. So, but as far as us, I know most of the people in here, and we're all doing pretty much the same thing as far as the homeless situation, but none of us have, we can help the homeless, but none of us have any place to send them on to. So that's not good. That's not why we're here. We're here to enhance their lives, not just keep them at the homeless shelter or the homeless transition center. And that's it. I prepared nothing because I have a problem with my eyes and I can't read. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, so our next speaker is Bill Thompson from Freedom House.
I apologize. I don't have any slides, so you're gonna have to look at my face. My name is Bill Thompson. I serve on the board of Freedom House. I'm the facilities manager. Freedom House is a Christian-based program that provides safe and sober transitional housing for recovering addicts. And if you wanted something with high demand, I think everybody here has that, but it is, we don't have enough beds for people. And Fred saw the need. Fred Petaruto had the vision to start the Freedom House, and he saw the need as a chaplain in the jail, and we had all these drug addicts in there, and then the jail was just dump them out on the street. And so where would they go? Right back to their old support group that gave them free drugs. And so we run on all private funding. We run with many volunteers. We have 3 paid positions. We run, Freedom House runs 2 homes, one men's home and a women's home. The women's home's right downtown by the hospital. The men's home is out by the airport, and they each have a house manager. And those house managers are critical for the functioning of the house. And we also have a program manager on the women's side. And if you want success stories, all of those 3 are graduates of our program, and they're doing a great job. It's awesome. Sweet Magnolia the women's house has about 14 beds. It's hard because the women are very welcoming to new guests, and so they'll put a 4th bunk bed in their room or whatever. We charge about $400 a month to the guests. Depends, the men's is a little bit less. Anyway, I won't get into that. But the Bethesda house houses about 8 men. And the biggest demand for us is on the men's side. And we're hopefully this August, September are gonna bring up a new men's home. And it's needed. That'll actually be more beds, 10 to 12 beds we're hoping we can get in there. We offer case management to the guests. They oftentimes come to us they don't even have an ID. They have no money, and most of the time. So sometimes we'll scholarship a few months of their housing there. We definitely encourage them to get a job, go to church, do Bible studies every week. A lot of it's around, well, we're faith-based, but they need structure and discipline in their lives. And what we want to try and provide them is the faith and skills to become valuable community members. and we're doing pretty well so far. Definitely some regression, but it's exciting at times to be there and see the successes we've had. Let's see what else we got. I think that's it. John, can you think of anything else? Did I forget anything? This kind of came up as a last minute thing, so that's why I don't have a slideshow, but yeah, I didn't get the hot topic thing. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Our next speakers are John and Cathy Pomeroy from the Good Samaritan Inn. Okay, Cathy. And Cathy, if you just want to like tab over right here to just go to your next slide.
Okay, well, yes, we're Helping Hands Healing Hearts, and we're in the back of Sandpoint Church of God on 221 South Division. We are open 3 afternoons a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The other one, that one?
Yeah.
Okay, right. And we are faith-based, Christ-centered. We are a joint ministry of Sandpoint area churches. It's not just Sandpoint Church of God because we're in there, and because we pastored there for years. It's a joint ministry. There's like 20 churches that go together to make this happen. Our mission is helping hands. We want to help with material needs, extend a helping hand, but then also healing hearts. We want to help with mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. And what we do, we offer free food, personal care, toiletries, clothes, shoes, kitchen, housewares, linens, furniture. We do financial help as well. We do spiritual help. We have mentoring classes. And then we offer a lot of referrals and give information when clients come in. We opened May 9th, 2017. And since then, we've served about 1,900 adults and children through a little over 4,000 client visits. We have average of 4 to 5 clients a day, but that's an average. One day we might have one day we might have 10, but that's what we average. We have 6 dedicated board members, 15 wonderful volunteers, 10 supporting churches that support us income, but then we have 8 helping churches, and we have 4 partnering churches that we go together with to help with financial needs. We partner with that. So our concern is about 3 months after we were open, we go, oh no, we've got a homeless problem in Sandpoint. We were pretty naive to it before we were co-directors for this. But since we have opened, about 19% of our new clients come to us homeless. And that translates into, as of the 31st of last year, 206 adults and 81 dependents, and that is just our organization alone. So that doesn't count couch surfers or other organizations, it just is us. So this is our graph that you can see how the clients homeless has increased over the last 5 years to now it's almost about a third of our new clients come to us homeless. But overall, you can see it's 19%. Last year in 2021, that translated into 50 adults with 17 dependents. So what's available? I so appreciate Bonner the Homeless Transitions, the Bonner Gospel Mission, and in this area, Freedom House. They have, like Freedom House has specific criteria. Bonner Gospel Mission, Bonner Home, they have a waiting list. Low income housing has 3 months to 1 year wait, especially if you're a single adult has 1 year or more. So most of our homeless clients are single adults. And the Idaho Section 8 housing, they have a 16-month waiting list. So the conclusion is there is a pressing need for transitional housing in our community that includes singles, couples, and families who don't meet the specific criteria of current facilities. So what I want to highly emphasize is that we're not doing what we're doing to to replace what's being done. We're doing what we're doing to come alongside and help and join in partnership to help the homeless in our community. So that means our dream is the Good Samaritan Inn. And that comes from, the name comes from the parable Jesus told about the Good Samaritan, that the Good Samaritan is to teach that our neighbor is anyone that's in need. So the Good Samaritan transported a beaten up man to an inn and left money for his care. So that's what we want to do. The homeless are beaten up by life, by trials, by stresses, by bad choices, and find themselves in great need. And we, with these other organizations, want to be God's vessels to meet those needs. So our plan is a 3-story studio apartment building. We have been approved by the city of Pomeroy to have 3 stories. We're excited about that. We will have 40 to 44 studio apartments, 2 ministry manager apartments, and our Helping Hands Healing Heart Center will move there and be in that complex on the 1st floor with offices, classroom, computers, and laundry. So I'm going back to this chart that I showed earlier. If you look on your right, you see the number of units we would have needed for the homeless in those years. And if you just look at 2021, last year, we would have needed 44 units. Last year, we would have been full. So point is, we need the Good Samaritan Inn. And so our program, we'll have executive director, 2 ministry managers, and then volunteer case managers. We hope to have at least like 20 volunteer case managers. People have already said they're interested in this. What we will have is class opportunities for Bible study, life skills, financial management, healthy lifestyle, personal hygiene, and good renting. And we will connect clients with a church, a small group. We will provide connections for jobs and job training and counseling as needed. Now, our length of stay will be up to 2 years, but that doesn't mean someone comes in and that they will automatically stay 2 years. It's just that they can, because of the waiting list of different complexes, Section 8 housing waiting lists that takes long, they can stay up to 2 years. But, you know, if they come in 3 months, which would be wonderful if they would find a place, it's not like they have to stay that 2 years. We just allow for that. We have land. We are so excited that we have 2 acres of land. It's on Triangle Drive in Pomeroy. It's on the curve there across from the school district offices. And this came about in such a wonderful hand of God way. Someone literally walked in off of the street that had no connection with us or churches and just told us that we want to provide the remaining amount that we needed for your land purchase. It was just so wonderful. And we were just in at the nick of time before someone else had the contract on it. So it was just such an exciting thing that happened. And so we were just praising the Lord for that. And now we need $4 million to build. So if any of you can write us a check for $4 million, we are standing here waiting and ready, let me tell you. But we are so excited that we have Rob Hart as our project manager. And then also we're excited to announce that Selkirk Design Company are our architects. So this is our future dream. I wish it were open right now. What we do for urgent housing right now is when someone comes to us homeless, we offer a couple nights in motel. We have an account with the motel here, and a couple nights. They always come to us in crisis, and so we give them a couple nights, couple days to help them to find something, and we try to connect them with different agencies. You know, we've been sending Sarah a lot of HPP clients, and then we just have been working like with IdaHope Families person. We try to work together. We've been working with James. We try to get him somewhere within those 2 days, but it's really, really hard to do. So we're all doing what we can, but there's a future there that we can do more, and we're excited for that future to come together. So that's right. Thank you.
Okay, and our next presenter is Josh Parrie, the Development Engagement Manager for Idaho Families.
Wow. Hi,
Morning, I'm Josh Parrie. As she said, I'm the Development and Engagement Manager for IdaHope Families. We're kind of the new kids on the block. Seems like some of you guys have been around for a little bit, so I'll give you a little bit of our history and where we're coming from. IdaHope Families serves as the North Idaho chapter of the Safe Families for Children. We cover Boundary, Bonner, and Kootenai counties. IdaHope Families is a Christ-centered nonprofit organization dedicated to creating support for families in distress and devoted to keeping children safe and families intact through a community of compassionate volunteers in the church. We launched this ministry in April of 2020, and we currently have 17. Oop, you know what? I'm totally forgetting all my stuff.
There you go.
All right, there we are. So we cover Boundary, Bonner, and Kootenai counties. We currently have 17 participating churches encompassing 36 approved volunteers, 4 family coaches, 10 family friends, 8 resource friends, 7 ministry leads. And additionally, we have 21 more volunteers going through the training process and another 18 who have expressed interest in becoming volunteers. Now I've gone through and I've updated our database, and I can tell you we're much bigger than these are a little bit old numbers. So all told, we have almost 75 volunteers who are either in the training process, who are approved, and are getting ready to go. Where am I? Since its inception, IdaHope Families has helped 42 clients, including 22 who were assigned family friends, 5 children who were placed with host families, and 6 clients who were assigned a family coach. These clients were referred to us from a variety of sources, including our hotline, the CREC, CASA, Children and Family Services, juvenile detention, and local area churches. Okay, which slide am I on? IdaHope Families was birthed out of the needs of Life Choices Pregnancy Center clients. Life Choices provides support and education to men and women facing situations related to unplanned pregnancies, abortion, sexual health, and family life. In serving these clients, we realized that they were facing more than just an unplanned pregnancy. They were facing unemployment, homelessness, domestic violence, sexual and alcohol abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, medical challenges, mental health issues, and potentially jail. These clients are what we call multi-need clients. Learned that at the charity tracker meeting. So in order to achieve the goal of both of our ministries, which is to encourage and equip moms and dads to choose life and to build strong families, we realized that they would need long-term support and additional resources. And although there are organizations that address some of these issues, there are still gaps in service. So as a solution to this gap issue, IdaHope Families joined forces with Safe Families for Children. So what is Safe Families for Children? It's a Christian movement started by a handful of Christ followers who were working in the foster care system. They witnessed that over 80% of the calls coming to the system were families in crisis, but not yet bad enough to qualify for foster care. So these families were left alone, isolated in their dilemma with no help available, leaving their children in danger of becoming abused, abandoned, or neglected. These social workers, counselors, and psychiatrists knew that God wanted them to do something to help these struggling families. So they left the foster care system and created a circle of support that runs through volunteers in the church, allowing the church to re-engage in society, offering love to strangers. They developed a recruiting, vetting, and training system for church volunteers to assist families in crisis in order to bring stability back to the home while developing a trusting relationship that encourages change through the unconditional love of Jesus Christ. They now have 120 chapters in 70 US cities, as well as in the UK, Hong Kong, and Canada. Now, the main focus of IdaHope Families is to provide support to parents who are at risk of crisis that would ultimately expose their children to the potential for neglect and abuse. We do this through a network of volunteers who provide host families, family coaches, family friends, and resource friends. So let's explore the process. First, there's a parent in crisis. He or she voluntarily allows their child or children to be hosted by a host family. And a host family is just that, a family that voluntarily takes in children into their home on a temporary basis. These 2 families are then surrounded by the remaining volunteers in a circle. The family coach is a well-trained individual who offers emotional care and tangible support to the 2 families as designed by our crisis counselor. setting goals, offering guidance, and encouraging change. The family friends volunteer support through prayer, establishing friendships with the family in crisis, and spending time like inviting them to coffee or dinner. Others provide babysitting, transportation to the doctor, school, or soccer practice. Resource friends assist host families and families in crisis with goods and services they may need, such as gently used equipment, clothes, and children's furniture, or even funds to help with groceries or rent or car repairs. Some offer a special skill like a mechanic, carpenter, plumber, volunteering their professional services such as counseling, medical assistants, hairstylists, even more. Each of these roles collaborate to provide the guidance, structure, safety, and support necessary to help bring families in crisis the elements they need to overcome and persevere. Now, let's fit all that into what we're talking about today. So with this in mind, let's focus on Bonner County. The United Way produces an annual report called the ALICE report. ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. These are considered at-risk households that are living basically paycheck to paycheck, are unable to consistently meet their basic needs, and are one minor catastrophe from falling below the federal poverty level, or from experiencing homelessness. According to the latest numbers available in 2018, and we're hoping we're having a new report come out soon, there were a total of 17,584 households in Bonner County. Oop, not yet. 2,546 of them are at or below the federal poverty level. Another 5,344 households are at or below the ALICE level. This means in Bonner County in 2018, there were almost 8,000 households, or 45% of total households, living in financial strain and isolation that kept them in a constant cycle of struggle making difficult choices, like deciding whether to fix their car or pay the rent. Single moms facing the challenges of childcare, such as the daycare is closed due to COVID. So should she miss work, or should she leave her child at some person in her apartment complex that she barely knows? These 8,000 families are making these very difficult decisions because they don't have the help they need. I would expect that the true numbers for 2022 and 2021 and 2020 are going to be even greater due to the explosion in housing costs, available affordable housing, the struggling economy, inflation, and other socioeconomic issues that are impacting our community. Been doing a lot of research the last couple of days, and I've been pulling some numbers together. And it's always, we talk about the homelessness issue, we talk about the housing issues, but here's some statistics that I was able to pull. A recent statement from the National Association of Realtors estimates that approximately 9 million people nationwide have been priced out of the housing market by the dramatic increase in housing prices and the skyrocketing mortgage rates. These are 9 million potential home buyers who are now faced with having to compete for a dwindling number of available and affordable rental properties in a market where real estate brokerage firm Redfin just reported that prices have increased 17% since February of last year. Combine that with the recent survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which found that only 43.4% of renters believe that they will ever own a home. This is the first time that that reading has fell below 50% in the history of the survey. Locally, in a recent Bonner Daily Beat article, it stated that the median home price in Sandpoint, this is Sandpoint proper, not the county, but in Sandpoint, was $904,000. Per the Selkirk Association of Realtors, the overall market in Bonner County is not as drastic. And while showing a year-to-year decrease of 0.7% in the median home price from 2020 to 2021, the year-to-date median home price has increased almost 15% through March of this year to $554,500. Additionally, Tomlinson Sotheby's puts on a report of the resort towns in the Western United States. In 2021, it shows that Sandpoint has the highest increase in the average sold price for homes at 41.9% and shows no indication of slowing. This ranks ahead of other more well-known resort towns such as Sun Valley, Park City, Jackson Hole, Vail, Breckenridge, and Aspen. Now compare all those numbers to the report from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which states that the rise or the raise in median family incomes from 2020 to 2021 was only 1.6%. Housing market skyrocketing, income is not keeping up. So where does IdaHope Families fit into this equation? While we may not be a primary resource in combating homelessness, we are most definitely active in supporting the families who may be at risk of or are immediately facing possible homelessness. We're accomplishing this by assisting at-risk families, offering them a support system to help guide them in their decision-making, as well as providing concrete, temporary, tangible support like gently used goods, services, or food. In some cases, the parents with children who are facing homelessness are willing to go to a shelter, but do not want to expose their children to that environment, or some shelters will not take children. We provide immediate placement for children in a safe home during these situations. In some instances, a host family might take in both the parent and the child on a short-term basis. These voluntary placements would be temporary until the family coach is able to assist the family with permanent and stable housing. In addition to providing support and placements, IdaHope Family also offers referrals to the CREC and the IHFA, I'm still learning all the new acronyms, with their housing preservation program, which provides rent relief for clients who are unable to meet their housing needs. So thank you to the CREC for offering the support. I'm gonna add this in real quick. We know that social isolation is one of the key factors in poverty. I was thinking about this last night and on my way here. So while we might not be able to directly affect the homelessness situation as some of the other organizations are, what we are doing is making sure that these clients are not going through it alone. We're offering a system of support for them. We're offering them guidance. We're offering them a support system that they don't originally have. So in closing, I know that IdaHope Families is just one piece of the homelessness puzzle, but we strive to make it a vital piece. And I look forward to working with all of you, as well as other stakeholders in the community to face these challenges. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next speaker is Keri Cederquist from United Way of North Idaho. She's the Community Impact Director.
So Josh teed this up really well for me. Thank you. Probably good planning on the coordinator's part here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Alice and housing and our focus on using data, and then also our focus on services for children and families. So again, another wrap service, not directly related to housing, but certainly relevant. So I don't need to go into this because it sounds like everybody's familiar with the Alice report. So that's just a cover slide there. I wanted to just kind of go over the data sets that are available on the United for Alice website. Many of you have already seen them. We're doing refreshes, as you mentioned. One of the data tools that you can use is this consequences tab that kind of draws out the impacts on Alice directly for insufficient housing, and then it draws out the long-term impacts. So of course, for Alice, we know that most Alice households are paying more than what their budget allows. So 35% or more of their take-home pay is going towards housing, which is considered rent burdened. What they have to do with insufficient housing is live in less desirable locations, run or buy substandard housing, seek housing assistance, and borrow at higher rates. And in the long term, the local economy suffers. Poor housing can lead to health problems. Long commutes can lead to more traffic, which has relation to lower worker productivity and retention. Taxpayers see an increase in their shouldering the burden for increases in suburban development. Rundown housing affects neighborhoods. And then, of course, as we all know, and why we're here, the communities bear the cost of homelessness, not just financially, but socially and emotionally as well. So one of the most recent data sets that just came out a couple of weeks ago is the focus on children. So it's a research brief and online dashboard. It's a really useful tool where you can set different layers to understand more specifically the types of households, demographics, ethnicities, et cetera, of children that are impacted by, or excuse me, children in Alice households. So some of the most staggering statistics are 45% of Idaho children are Alice. 71% of those are in single female-headed households. 53% of children living with a grandparent are below that ALICE threshold. So that's something that confirms a lot of what we've seen anecdotally with relatives as parents in kin care. Those families are a lot more likely to be in ALICE and be rent burdened because they're taking on child-rearing responsibilities after they've completed childbearing. And oftentimes those children are coming with a lot of social and emotional trauma as well from a disruption in the family. 47% of children in renter households below the ALICE threshold were rent burdened. So that's that 35% or more of their take home pay that I referenced. This is an interesting one. So you can kind of break down again the occupations and worker types of children in ALICE households. And this one was just pretty staggering. 60% of children with a working parent as a cashier, which is one of the most common jobs, were below the ALICE threshold. Other ones included hospitality and retail and drivers and delivery service and delivery drivers. So just kind of that kind of data helps us understand where we can promote and target our resources to be more effective and reach those families that are most likely to be rent burdened. And then, as was referenced again by Josh, great presentation, housing instability in children has clear and evidence-based risks for poor physical health, increased family stress, social isolation, and lower academic performance. So what we do primarily is we focus on providing supports to families with children. So we have been running for the last couple of years a child care scholarship program. This is designed to fit the gap between those families that are eligible and receive Idaho child care assistance through the state and those who are not making enough to actually afford their child care. It's a really big issue and has just been exacerbated by the pandemic. The childcare system is very fractured and broken. And what we like to tell parents when we have the chance is it is not you. It's not that you're not working hard enough or don't have it figured out. The system is not designed for us. And that is why it's so hard to find good care, to afford it. So we provide family scholarships. I'll go into kind of the details in just a moment, but our data really lines up from what we've seen with our scholarship program with the ALICE focus on children data. So right now, 82% of applicants, so this is just calendar year 2022 data that's represented here, but we have been running this program since 2020. 82% of applicants are from Kootenai County and 17% are from Bonner County. So I brought up quite a deck of cards to share because we really want to increase this opportunity to Bonner and Boundary County residents. The sources of funding are a blend of federal and private funds. So we are able to be quite adaptable to how we mobilize those funds to meet families' specific needs exactly where they're at. 94% of applicants are female, 6% are male. Of those 94%, 75% are single female-headed households. The average applicant is 32 years old, 2 children, high school diploma with a full-time job. An interesting thing here in this income level is for a family of 3. So this demographic, 1 parent, 2 children, the income level for Idaho child care assistance is about $2,300 a month. Most commonly, we see these families making about $2,500 or $2,600 a month, which bumps them over that benefit. So with ICCP, if you're not familiar, it's a tiered income level. You pay a copay. So if you receive ICCP, your copay might be like $75 a month. So these families are just $200 or $300 over, but are then responsible for the full cost of care, which is averaging $525 to $625 per month. So that $200 to $300 over that limit clearly doesn't cover the true cost of care. Not to mention childcare providers are some of the lowest paid people in society. So we are also able to support families that do already receive ICCP if that copay is a burden on their finances. So we see this most typically with families that are or have recently experienced homelessness and have very little liquid assets. And that $75 is just too much and leaves them with nothing else, diapers, utilities, anything like that. So we are able to help families that already receive ICCP as well as those who don't. So the scholarship program, like I said, we're really proud to be very adaptable and be able to meet families exactly where they're at. So you see here the income levels, that's reflective of ALICE numbers rather than the federal income limits and the state income limits for ICCP. So it is quite a bit higher than what you might see for public benefits. This is eligible to families in the 5 northern counties. The way that we run our scholarships is replicated on ICCP, but again, more flexible. So what we do is we take their total take-home pay, and we take the dollar amount that they pay for childcare each month and divide that. So that gives us a percentage. What we want to do is we want to subsidize families down to as close as we can get to 7% of their take-home pay towards childcare, which is the affordability index that's generally accepted. And so what we see typically is families paying anywhere from 15 to 50% of their take-home pay on childcare. So what we'll do is we come up with that number that would be a monthly subsidy to get them down to 7%, and we get as close as we can with the resources that we have available. And the sort of criteria of up to $2,000 per 12 months. And we do a monthly subsidy that we pay directly to the childcare provider. Most often, this is between 3 to 6 months, but in our application process, and if you're a case manager, this is important. So it's an online application, but there's a section in there that asks to provide any other details that can help us understand the family situation. And if you're working with a client, it's really important to share, to coach them through providing information at whatever level they feel comfortable and safe doing. Of course, all of our information is confidential, but that helps us understand what the best payout basically is going to be. Is it going to be more beneficial for this family to get 3 months of $500 a month, or are they looking at it's better for their family to have 12 months of $150 a month? That information really helps us make the best decisions with the resources we have. And quite often what we'll do is set a total amount, like a $1,500 total benefit or $2,000 total benefit, and just take it back to the family and say, here's what we have approved you for. What's going to be best for your budget and your family plan, so that they have that dignity and autonomy of making that decision for themselves and being in control of their own budget. So that's it.
We're way ahead of schedule. We're just gonna do a short break. You guys can get snacks in the back if you need to use the restroom. The restrooms are to the right out there. So we'll just take a brief break real quick and then we'll resume. Yeah, 5 minutes is good. We'll do that. Let me check on chats.
Right. Did you mind? No.
Okay. We're taking a short break.
No.
Well, yeah, we have.
She's so proud of me. You're a manager. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me exit out of this.
What? My business, the big employers to come to these meetings.
Refresh this.
Where's everybody? Lighthouse and all these, right.
Okay.
Preaching to the choir.
That's what
I know, the big
We're learning.
employers.
We're learning more about each other. Yeah.
It was this one, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Pull this out of the way. Oh. Okay, guys, we're gonna have Rob just come back up and go over the slide that we missed earlier, and he's just gonna explain that real quick for us. All right. Go up, Rob.
Thank you. One of the things that I was talking about earlier in terms of we're using Culver's Crossing to showcase our approach to housing is the creative planning process that we apply to a particular piece of land in order to get density and have a mix of housing types. So if you look at this is the Culver's Crossing site plan, and you'll see that there are units in yellow, which are in the upper left. Those are closer to industrial zoning, and those are townhomes. Each home has its own individual walls. They are being sold as single-family homes. The city has accepted this new product that we've developed called a big home to be developed on single-family zoning, but at a multi-family density. There are 1-inch air spacing between each townhome, which gives you the property lines dividing up these units. The different units that I showed you in another slide, we combine them together so that it looks like one big house, not a row of townhouses. One unit provides the front door, one unit provides the back door, and other units provide the center of the house. So from the outside, it looks like a big house, but it's actually 4 or 3 different units, and they're also alley loaded. So what that means is you don't see garages on the street as you drive by. And then as you notice, as we move towards the residential zoning, which is to the east or the right, then our density gets lower and we get much bigger lots. These are larger than normal single family lots. And we have twin homes, which are like better than a duplex, which means that they're 2 homes side by side, a 0 lot line, they're 1 inch apart. You have your own private walls, inch space in between. Again, that is allowing us to get density. And what that relates to is lower prices. So we're able to deliver these homes that are hundreds of thousands of dollars below market value. And so that we can focus on getting homes that are only 30% of what local income is. In the lower corner, in the lower right, you'll see that there is an orange building. What that is a replica of a historic estate. And it looks like a big old historic building. It's a brand new building, but inside it's carved up into 3 apartments. And then there's a carriage house that has 4 garages and a caretaker's apartment above. And so we'll be able to offer these as rentals. And so this was the slide that was missing. I just wanted you to get a sense of that. You notice also this slide shows the non-linear street. We intentionally put curves into the street to slow traffic down, to make the neighborhood safe for families. And you can see all the trees dotted around. Those are existing trees. And we're saving those trees. We're putting fences around them and protecting them with something that has not been done in Sandpoint before, so that when you move in, you'll have tall trees next to your home. And the community park is in the upper right-hand corner. It is accessible from Boyer. So you'll be able to access it from the public side or from the private side. And it's a great place for us to store snow because it's on the corner of a street where the snow ends up. And we're going to be piling snow up there and offering a sledding hill for kids in the winter. Thank you.
Well, Sarah gets up the next speaker slides. Can you and I were just talking off.
You want me to go through that?
Yeah, would you just talk about your observations so far in this meeting?
Sure.
And connecting the
So I'll be brief. We have a number of people here who are standing up saying, we just need the homes. We need housing to get people in, affordable housing, so that we can get people out of their crisis mode that they're in. And I'm over here saying, we have the formula to build that housing, and we're doing it. And we have a number of clients. Many of our projects have a long lead time. I mean, you'll be seeing stuff coming in over years. We need things now. So we have the formula. Here's the problem. What we're missing is in the middle is the group of, I guess you could say, concerned citizens who have land. The key to all of this is land. That's what we're missing. And there is land available. There's a lot of vacant land. As I said earlier, we don't want rural land out in Selly Valley or way off in Naples or anything like that. It needs to be close to services, but there is still a lot of vacant land around, and there are people around who know, landowners, and if you get in touch with us, we put together a program where you can build affordable housing that will serve these needs, and they're going to make money doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
James, how do you pronounce your last name? Noriega. Okay, I don't want to mess that one up. He's the executive director of Bonner Gospel Mission.
I am James Noriega. I'm the current executive director of Bonner Gospel Mission. I've been doing mission work for about 22 years, most of it in the Seattle area and Spokane. In that time, I was 8 years as a pastor over addiction in a local church. Felt called back to the homelessness crisis. And so the Bonner Gospel Mission, I've been there for 2 years. I do have a hunger and desire to be a part of the solution of the homelessness issue in our community. And so the Bonner Gospel Mission is faith-based. When I got there 2 years ago, there were 6 beds. We have now 16 beds. There's times during the winter and the really cold times, we had some emergencies. We can put some cots up and got up to 17 and 18, but it's pretty crammed now. So we're at 16. We just can't up that number. But we stay around 15. I have now a house manager, as Bill said. Those are really unique positions to fill. We can only grow in that number because of house manager. So once we achieve that, now I think that the mission is the hospital at the bottom of the cliff. We do target or want to be a resource for those guys, the men that are burning bridges, that have burnt bridges, that really have no more resources because they've burnt bridges. And a lot of those guys are coming out of jail. I have 3 beds, available for guys that are coming in from jail. A lot of them are in drug court, so I work with the drug court now more frequently than we have in the past. And part of their recovery system. So as a part of that, we do have to kind of collapse some of our boundaries, but there is still like a curfew. We do have to, they have to attend a Bible study in the morning and a Bible study at night. And that's just studying the Bible to teach them about the Bible. It's the approach of teaching them who they are and not necessarily what to do. A lot of times they're trying to figure out what to do and they don't even know who they are. They're lost in their addiction. And we don't reject the disease model approach, but we just take the scriptures as they are speaking to people and refining or redeeming their identity. And so they're not their addiction, they're not their disease. And so with that, being the hospital at the bottom of the cliff and having some parameters, some policies, I think the big deal is that the more that they become other-centered, the more healing happens, the more they understand their value in community, their value in communal living. Because as I said, I do want to be a part of the homelessness solution and be a part of these meetings and these just scratching our heads and trying to figure out what the real problem is. But in that, when I was in Seattle, we grew educationally as networking, as providers, we grew in resources, we grew in financial resources, and the more we grew, the phenomenon was the more homelessness was growing. And I saw that in Spokane, and I see that here. And it's a real head scratcher. How is it that the more educated we become as providers and the more resources, sometimes homelessness grows? And I think if as a Bonner Gospel Mission, the hospital at the bottom of the cliff is that it's just not necessarily housing being the answer. It's redeeming these men in valuing community, valuing communal living. Then they start to see that they are of value in community. So we start up this thing called Serve Sandpoint, where I have guys on the weekends outside of their jobs go serve the elderly, the disabled, and give back to the community. And those guys are coming back going, wow, that was something. And it meant something. And it meant something to the one who was getting the services. And so they're starting to go, oh, there is something to this community thing. There is something to being others-centered. And so that's what I want to bring to that table is it's one thing to find someone housing, but it's another one to help them keep it. Because if we don't educate them at this place of the value of community, then I think we just have that recidivism, door revolving thing happening that never seems to get smaller. It just seems to get bigger. And again, we do have some very tight parameters, but it's for their good. And like Bill said, these guys are showing up with no IDs, out of jail, haven't worked in 5 years, 10 years. So there's a huge learning curve, and we're starting to see people. My last 6 guys left in good standing. They didn't have an ID. They found ID. They found a job. I helped them save money, buy a car. They were part of the Serve Sandpoint. Some of the guys with that Serve Sandpoint found some housing availability. And so our last 6 guys, were there for anywhere between 6 and 9 months. And they still come back to the mission and serve and volunteer. And so there is a response to this communal, this value of community, this value of other-centeredness that I think that is crucial. So again, it's not that we want to have our own, lane, but we want to be in the same lane as you guys. We want to be a part of that solution. We don't have housing, but we can be a resource to educate people how to keep their housing once they found it. We have ties to church. Some church members are coming forward and saying, hey, maybe I can start using my extra room for a guy or 2 because they see this other-centeredness, this thing that says, they're quit, eating the fruit, and they become part of the fruit. They become part of that solution, not just part of the taking. And so again, we have 16 beds. Right now I have 2 availabilities. 2 are maybe coming from jail, slated to come and coming are 2 different things sometimes. So I have cards. The entry is just an application, a pretty simple application, and an interview with me. And it's not so much we're looking for people who are policy followers or rule followers, but someone that does want to learn how to become other-centered as a discipleship. So yes, we have a homeless shelter, but I don't think we necessarily operate as a homeless shelter because, a homeless shelter, even, I was a case manager of one, and it was a lot of, this is your corner and keep in your lane and don't bother others. Here, it's, no, you don't have your own lane. We have our lane, and you don't have your own corner. We have a house, and we are gonna kind of climb into each other's lives and teach each other how to become other-centered so that when they do leave, they do have this value of other people. They have the value of community. And that, I think, turns into part of the solution of homelessness and not the continuing problem of homelessness. So all it takes is a phone call and an application that's online that you can find on honorgospelmission.org. A call to me, and then it's great when you guys call, because I'm gonna, it's hopefully it's not a pass off and hey, good luck with that. It's a team effort, and it does take a village to help some of these guys that have spent most of the better part of a half a decade to a decade destroying their community. Now we're redeeming them, transforming them to be part of the solution in the same community they terrorized. So I think that's a great picture for us to stand on and to die on that hill. And I'm glad to be a part of this solution problem. Thank you.
One quick thing on that is that when we've had clients that have needed some assistance, I mean, they come to us for resources, and sometimes we don't have those resources. They could be for various reasons. And, we've called James and Paul Fuller up and said, hey, we've got a client that, needs maybe a porch fixed or something like that. And they brought those guys out there and they've done that for our clients. And we're really grateful for that. Our next speakers are Donna Brundage and Rebecca Stinson from St. Vincent de Paul of North Idaho. And ladies, you are a go.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry we couldn't be there in person. We had a little bit of car issues at the last minute. So as Sarah said, I'm Donna Brundage, Becca Stinson is behind me. I wanted to start, a lot of our presentation is going to carry over from the similarities of the issues that Kootenai County and Bonner County are facing. There is a group, which I'll get to in a second, called the Regional Growth and Housing Partnership. And they had the University of Idaho do a study on the housing crisis in Kootenai County. But as we'll see on the next slide, and you can go ahead, Sarah, the key takeaways are the same. And I have to move this really quickly. Regional employers can't find housing for their employees. Many positions are unfilled. And we actually talk about Culver's Crossing as a solution down here with the several agencies that are on this committee. So thank you for the good work you're doing up there, you guys. Like, you're part of the solution. New firms may not relocate to this area because of the high cost of housing. Long-term residents are being squeezed out and moving outside of the county. A lot of them are going to the Silver Valley right now, is what we're seeing. Rathdrum and Athol are experiencing a growth explosion because people can't afford to live in Coeur d'Alene. Children of the residents are unable to live in the community because they can't afford housing. So, generationally, the grandchildren are moving away from the parents. Economy cannot diversify. Fewer technology companies and manufacturing facilities are driven out of the market because they know they won't be able to find employees. The high cost of housing and rents leads to substitution of non-residents for residents. What we have down here is vacation rentals and Airbnbs. And, we have people that are selling to rent their properties out instead of keeping the rent reasonable where people can actually live in the properties. And then the standard of living will decline because of the low or the high housing costs. And go ahead, Sarah. So this is just a slide to show you. It has the website address. There's a lot of resources on this website. And it is, again, it's started by one of the city council people down in Coeur d'Alene, but there's a lot of agencies. There's planning and zoning. There's Habitat for Humanity. There's a lot of all of the housing agencies and stuff are a big piece of this cooperative. And the website is there, and I really recommend you check it out. Go ahead, Sarah. Okay, what can be done? And I'm going to have Becca speak on this because Becca is a case manager and the director of the shelters programs at St. Vincent's. So this is one of the things that is going on to do this.
St. Vincent de Paul actually has funding that can help with homeless prevention. It's part of our HPRR program, and we can actually work in collaboration with a lot of your organizations. In lieu of them having to drive all the way up here to seek the service, we can do it via telecommunications. But we do have funding that can assist with temporary financial assistance to keep people in their homes
I don't
in
think
order
we can tell me.
to avoid
This
evictions.
guy on from
Um,
Gospel Mission, he's pretty
St.
good.
Vincent de Paul can assist with rents and
They're talking
utilities.
about housing.
This can,
So one of them-
per calendar year, it's limited. It's as the access point for Region 1, they do need to do a screening and assessment. Again, it can be done over the phone. But they do have to have an eviction notice. They have to have at least a 6 to 12 month lease agreement. We cannot, it won't assist with month to month, just that doesn't really prevent in the long term, especially, I mean, ultimately it's just stating that they can stay there for an additional 30 days. So that's why they require the lease. Past due utility assistance, required to have ID, social security cards. They do have to have income. One of the main components of the homeless prevention program is showing sustainability. So if we step in to assist, we just want to be sure that they're okay moving forward.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Rapid rehousing is another program that we have. I think the name's a little bit misleading. It's not rapid. Nothing housing in Region 1 is rapid. But this program can assist with moving costs, rents, and deposits to people, for people who are literally homeless, which unfortunately we do have to follow under federal guidelines. So on the streets in their vehicle or an emergency shelter, could potentially assist with moving costs, trucks to move, things like that. But this can, it helps end homelessness. So a lot of you guys that are working with shelters and stuff, if we can collaborate, get you guys, get your clients or the participants for your programs in here to do the screening and assessment to get on the wait list for this program. Once they find housing and they are responsible for finding the housing, we definitely have the resources, the affordable housing list. We have packets put together that have applications that are free for them to apply to. Subsidized housing is, there's not an application fee for subsidized housing. And there is housing like that up in your area. And it is included on the affordable housing list. Next slide.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this one's yours too.
So to reduce homelessness, a community-wide coordinated approach to delivering services, housing, and programs is needed. We're really hoping to, with this presentation, that we can start to bridge the gap, get more of the individuals that are living in your community in for services. There needs to be a crisis response, and part of that is getting them signed up and in the queue for the screening and assessment to get them on the list for HPRR programs. Part of case management here is increasing employment and income. We do work with them on that. Financial stability classes, life skills classes,
Job readiness.
And then the homeless prevention piece that we discussed. Coming up in July, Donna is coordinating this, and she's put a lot of work into it. But we're doing a livability resource festival at McEwen Park here in Coeur d'Alene. If anyone wants to be a part of that, just get a hold of Donna. But it is a festival we're putting on to address how to stay housed in the Region 1 area. So if you're interested in a table, please just let Donna know.
Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here's some of the things that may help. There is a new website called Find Help Idaho, which is pretty slick. It's kind of replacing a lot of other websites that they've tried that weren't so slick. But it has a great search, a really robust search engine. And it's for the whole state now. It's not just by region. So you go in and you type in housing, and then you would put in a zip code of where you're looking. And it comes up with multiple places where there may be housing available. Another thing that we've put together here, because one of the barriers we find when people are in crisis and they're looking for housing is that it's just overwhelming. They get handed like 18 pieces of paper, and and they get told to, oh, well, call this person and call this person. And these are people that don't have case manager, they're just come in looking for resources. So we have a Google document. It's a living document, a Google Sheet actually, which has as many housing resources as I could find. And I went to 211 and got their list. I went to probation and parole and got their list. I went through, you know, lots of different things to try to compile this. If anyone would like me to share this link with them, please just send me an email after the meeting and I'll be happy to send that to you. And if you have any resources to add on there, we'd greatly appreciate it. And then we do a Region 1 resource directory, which is at the printers right now. It should be here by the end of next week. And this is pocket size that you can hand to homeless people. And this is also for Region 1, not just Coeur d'Alene. It's Shoshone and Benoit and Bonner, Boundary and Bonner counties, as well as Kootenai County. And I'd be happy to share those or bring some up, or I can send you an electronic version of that as well. Go ahead, Sarah. Okay, so just really briefly, I just wanted to go over some of the things that we do at the Help Center that you guys may or may not be aware of. And it's not just for people that live in Coeur d'Alene. Anybody's more than welcome to come in and get some of our services as they need them. We do have a warming center that's open in the winter. It just closed for the season. We had to reopen. We do first impressions where you can get, if you have a job interview coming up and you need professional clothing, we can give you a voucher to our thrift store. As Becca mentioned, we have case management. We also have parenting classes, which a lot of those are Zoom right now through our iCare program. Just check our Facebook page and that'll tell you when those are. There's a bunch of them starting soon. We have payee services for people that are either ordered to or Social Security would like people that can't handle their own finances to go through that. We have a diaper bank and a small food bank. So we have like basic needs assistance, blankets, things like that. We can also do IDs. We can help you get your Social Security card. We can help you get your birth certificate and help navigate that whole thing. And then on property, we have the 2 homeless shelters. We have a women and children's shelter and we have a men's shelter. We also have a community kitchen that's open for dinner 5 nights a week. And we have a free laundry and showers if anybody needs those services. We do offer haircuts occasionally, like we're going to start it back up post-COVID. But we have a barber that comes in if people need haircuts and things like that. And we also have a telephone, computer. If people need to come in and check their email, we can do copies and faxes for people and we can help them in those ways. So that's kind of like what our help center is there. And again, it's available not just for people in Kootenai County. So go ahead, Sarah. All right, there is a video at the end of this, but we're not going to play that today, but in the essence of time. And I just kind of went over what the social services. We do have 300 units of low income housing, but they are full. They stay full. But if you get on the waiting list, people drop off of the waiting list, right? Because there's criteria. Like you have to call in every 90 days to stay active on the list. And a lot of people either find housing where they give up. So then the next person bumps up. So even though it says it's 3 years, sometimes it's much less than that. So if you do have people that want to get into permanent housing, low income housing that's subsidized, you know, please, they would need to come to the help center and fill out the application and get on the list and meet with our housing department. So
If you're initially just applying for housing with the pre-application, we can mail those out.
Okay. All right, that's all we got. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Our next speaker is Christine Friesen with the Goodwill Supportive Services for Veteran Families. She's an outreach specialist. I don't see her here yet, and I'm not sure I see her online either. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward, and hopefully when she comes in, we can just pick up with her. But I do know that Liz Moore from Idaho Housing and Finance is on right now. Liz, do you think that you could jump ahead and present for us real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be great. I'm gonna go to your slides for 1 second and you just tell me when to pan next, okay?
All right, will do. So hi, I'm Liz Moore, the Assistant Supervisor at the Housing Preservation Program for Idaho Housing and Finance Association. And just for reference, HPP is what we call our version of the federally funded Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And I'm so happy to be here. So thanks for having me. Next slide, please. Pardon me. HPP helps eligible Idaho renters who have been affected by the widespread financial hardship due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had a couple different sources of funding since inception, but the program is currently funded under the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. The program offers assistance with rent and utilities. It can also cover short-term hotel stays that are less than 60 days, so that an applicant experiencing homelessness can be housed while they search for a suitable long-term rental unit. The program doesn't assist with locating housing, but it can also assist with getting into a new place with helping out with the deposit, the security deposit, and up to 3 months of rent. And since May of 2020,
Sorry, that was
thanks. Since May of 2020, HPP has provided more than $47 million in rent and utility assistance. If the applicant household is eligible for rent, we can cover arrears and up to 3 months of assistance. And that includes for rent and for utility, for rent. For utilities, we can cover arrears just because we don't know what their future utilities will be. And then there is a maximum of amount of assistance for 15 months, and it's 12 months of past due and 3 months prospective, just in the interest of helping out the applicants. For the application process, it takes about 5 to 7 days from the time an application is submitted by the household for it to be assigned to one of our processors. The application should be complete when it is submitted, just because each section requires something to be uploaded. But in case something falls through or they don't have the document right then, they do have, the landlord and the applicant do have 2 weeks to submit all the required documents. All right. So to qualify for this program, an applicant must be an Idaho renter. Their household income needs to be at or below the 80% of the area median income, which is set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And they also need to be experiencing housing instability. Also, they need to have been experienced a COVID-19 financial hardship, and this can be indirect or direct. Direct impacts can look like inability to work due to illness or quarantine, increased utility bills due to staying at home due to the pandemic, reduced hours at work, and an inability to work due to lack of childcare or children participating in virtual learning. And indirect can be increased food and transportation costs, company layoffs, or increased housing costs. So there's a wide scope of how someone can be directly or indirectly impacted. Ready? And then here are the list of the requirements or documents required, pardon me. For an application to be considered complete, we need these documents. The first two are forms that are available within the application or on the HPP website. The certification of program eligibility is the applicant certifying that they qualify for this program. And the ROI, the release of information, allows us to talk to the applicant's landlord and their utility companies. The IDs can be any government issued IDs. It doesn't have to be Idaho or US. It can also be expired. It just needs to be government issued. Next is the lease and ledger and eviction notice. So those three documents aren't required at the, a document needs to be uploaded, but let's say if someone's starting a lease, but they won't have it for the next bit, they can still submit an application, but eventually we will need that rental obligation. And then for ledger and eviction notice, they're not required to be submitted by the tenant. That is an optional document if they have it. The next is 60 days of income for all adults in the household, and then utility bills to cover the full balance of the statement. So if they owe for multiple months, we need to see each of those statements. Next. And then here is the HPP website. It's the idahohousing.com/HPP. And to apply, you'll see the top red box, the apply now. You'll click on that and apply now, and this will take them to a login screen where they will create an account and they can start the application. The fastest way to apply is to apply online. This way the applicant can upload any documents they need to or check on the status of their application. But if an applicant doesn't have the resources to apply online, they can submit an application over the phone. They'll need to still supply the documents to the program, but it is an option. And in these cases, the applicant doesn't have direct access to the application, so there is, give and take there. So we really do try and encourage them to go online and apply with either, the help of family, the help of friends, the library, these resources that have been mentioned, just so that way that they have access to it and can know. Also, there is a role within the software that allows anyone to act as the tenant representative, and they can act as a liaison between our program and the applicant in applying for rental assistance. Also listed on the HPP homepage are the required documents of how to, and how to complete an application. There's also an extensive list of helpful FAQs. That's going to be the bottom red box. They include subjects such as how to check on the status of the application, terms of assistance, late fee coverage, how applications are prioritized, and so on. And then what you guys might be interested as well is at the bottom of the page, there's some promotional material to use to spread the word for our program. So if you would like to spread those resources, it's going to be at the bottom of the page, that IdahoHousing.com page. All right, well, that's all I have for you. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay, yeah, Liz, can you stay on for just a second? I know that you've got to go.